Today I want to go over the electronic music gear that both helped and hurt my recent live stream concert, Freebeat Live 2026, which was performed last weekend. And I'm going to get to it as soon as I shout out today's patron, and that patron shout out goes to Alex Thompson. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. First of all, I just want to kick this video off by giving a huge thank you to everybody who came out and watched Freebeat Live 2026. Either of the shows, they were both so much fun. We consistently had more people in chat than I've ever had before. And for me, a channel who doesn't really stream that often, that made me really proud. So I just want to thank, again, everybody who came out, who watched the show, who supported in the chat, and especially the people who made tracks for the community showcase. It was awesome, and thanks again for being a part of it. Also, as you can tell, we're still out in the Beat Barn with a little makeshift filming setup, so please excuse the tripod leg in the shot here. Anyway, back to the show. It was a big success, in my opinion, and there were pieces of gear that contributed to that success, and there were also pieces of gear that caused the hiccups that I was not too happy with. So today I figured I'd go over 3 pieces of gear that helped and 3 pieces of gear that hurt. I don't know, just kind of a fun little way of looking back on the concert and a little bit of gear analysis. So let's start with the first piece of gear that helped, and that was the Wolfmix WMX1. This is made by ADJ, and this is a lighting controller. I actually covered this in a video a couple of weeks ago leading up to the show. It is a DMX lighting controller that's all hardware based. You don't need a computer with it. And with this, I was able to program all of the light cues, and then I was able to tab through them live on stage using a different piece of gear that's actually on this desk right now. And in the second set, when I was sitting at the drum kit, my friend Oliver was back here at the lighting booth and was toggling through the different presets by hand and had a cue track in his ear telling him where the next cue was and when to hit it, and it went really well. We were both very happy with the performance of the Wolfmix, and it made things that used to be kind of a pain in the butt for us almost effortless. It was a lot of fun to use, and while this is expensive, I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a hardware-based DMX lighting solution. Also, shout out to Zounds.com for letting us borrow this for the show. I don't really have too much need for it outside of the Freebeat Live performances, so this will be getting sent back here in just a couple of days. But yeah, a thumbs up for me on this one. I gotta say, I enjoyed using it. Now let's talk about a piece of gear that failed. And to be honest, it's just this cable here. This is from Amazon Basics, and it's simply a USB extension cable. You see, the Wolfmix can take MIDI in, but it has to be via USB Type A, meaning we needed a way to connect this all the way from back here at the lighting booth to my MIDI controller, which is this Star MC6 Pro. More on that in just a minute. So we used this cable right here into then a USB A to C on the other side, so it could go into my Star. And in the second set, we had to reboot the lighting controller 3 or 4 times because the contacts on this cable started to die. And it was kind of a momentum killer in the second show. We had to reboot a few times. I think we only mentioned it on camera once, but yeah, the amount of times this cable let us down was really disappointing. And I haven't had it for that long either. I know Amazon Basics isn't the greatest brand, but it caused quite a bit of headache. And we tested it after the show, and yeah, it's just the contacts on this side of the cable are really starting to go out. So it caused the Morningstar pedal and the Wolfmix to lose connection, and that required the Wolfmix to be rebooted. And when you reboot the Wolfmix, all the lights turn off and turn back on. So yeah, it was just not an ideal situation. And this stupid little cable was to blame. All right, back to the good, the Star MC6 Pro. I have said so many wonderful things about this pedal, but it is truly a workhorse. The I/O on this thing is insane. It's got 2 USB-C ports, one for host and one for device. It can also be powered over the device port. You've got full routing of any of the MIDI signals for both of these jacks. It's got MIDI in and out over 5-pin. Pretty standard, you can imagine how that works. It's got 4 Omni ports, which I believe can also do MIDI in and out. I've used them in the past for foot switches like the Boss FS5U. It's got relay ports for, I believe that's like guitar pedal specific stuff. And then on this side, it's even got 3.5 millimeter MIDI in and out, and all of it can be routed together. Then on the front here, you've got 6 switches that can be routed to anything you want. They can each send up to 32 commands, either all at once or in like stacking chains. There's toggle switches you can set up. There's 3 screens, and each of them displays information for what the pedals do. There's, I believe, 128 banks that you can switch between. So I had a different bank for each song. I was able to use this to cue the next lighting scene in my first set. So I triggered all the lighting. I could go backwards and forwards. I was able to map the ADJ button here to this pedal right here, this switch, and that basically just flashed all the lights in like a fun pattern, kind of like we called it the get it moment. I was able to set this pedal here to blinder, which is just like a big flash, just like all at once. I was able to set these switches here to next song and previous song to not only change banks on the MC6 Pro, but also change the kit patches on the SPD-SX, which was off camera and handling all of the click tracks for myself and Oliver. I was just able to do so much with it this show. And I mean, I've used this for the past 3 shows, really ever since I've gotten it. And it has performed different tasks in each of those performances, and it has never failed me. It has performed every task so admirably well. And this thing is just an absolute workhorse. The Morningstar products are phenomenal. And even their little MC3, which is less than $200 US, I believe, is a MIDI monster. So if you want a MIDI brain pedal for your setup, I highly recommend any of the Morningstar products. So I mentioned the SPD-SX, and while that didn't fail me, something plugged into it did. This is a Yamaha KU100 kick pedal. I've had this for about 6 years now. It's just a basic trigger pedal, so there's a little piezo sensor in there. You push the pedal, triggers that sensor, then kick output goes into some sort of drum trigger input device like an Alesis Trigger IO, a Roland drum module, an Alesis drum module. In my case though, I plugged it into the Roland SPD-SX, and I used this in the second set when I was at the drum set to start the drumless backing tracks, but also to fire the click tracks in both my ears and Oliver's ears. Now, how it started to fail is that it has started to like mistrigger. It's basically introducing delay. And I thought it was like a threshold setting at first, or maybe a retrigger cancel setting, but I went through all of that and adjusted it. And unfortunately, I think it just might have to do with the piezo wearing out. I've had this for 6 years now. I actually had to reinforce the built-in spring with a stronger one because it was starting to wear out. And it made it so some of the song starts were just the slightest bit off. How it would work is I would actually count off the song out loud, so Oliver could hit the button at the same time I hit this, starting the click track and starting the backing track, and it just would be like a millisecond ahead or behind. And it doesn't have to do with my timing because I've used this for years perfectly, but this time something was different, and it's kind of been progressively getting worse. I noticed it in rehearsals about a week ago, and then it started getting worse, and then by the end of the second show, there was quite a delay. You can actually hear in the encore piece I did, there's a drum solo, and I count back in from the drum solo and hit this, and the timing is like way off. It really threw me for a loop. So yeah, sad to see this go. I've really used this a lot, and I'll have to replace it with something, but I'm probably gonna go for something from Roland, perhaps the KT9 or KT10. All right, and the last helpful item on the list, this is the X5 U45D wireless stereo in-ear monitoring system. X5 sent this over for the show, and I was so happy that they did because I've never had wireless monitoring before as Freebeat. I've had it, you know, playing with other bands and touring with other acts, but never for myself really. And this was awesome. I don't really have a ton to say about it other than the fact that it just worked like it should, which any, you know, touring or gigging musician knows. When it comes to your monitoring, you don't necessarily want a lot of bells and whistles. You just want it to work. and work consistently. And that's how I found the U45D to behave. You get a couple adapters to be able to plug it into your board with either 1/4 inch or XLR. I used 1/4 inch for this performance because that's what my board had. I used the Zoom LiveTrack L12, so it just went stereo in just like that. I actually did a video on this a couple weeks ago. Feel free to check that out. I appreciate how simple it was to use. I also like that they're affordable, so I don't feel bad talking about them in videos. Even though I got this unit for free, you can pick one up for less than $400 US, which for a stereo wireless monitoring system is a steal, I think. But yeah, like I said, no complaints here. They both have internal rechargeable batteries, and I didn't have any battery issues or anything like that. The only problem I did have was that I forgot to turn them on at the start of the second show. So that led to a pretty embarrassing moment where I had to restart the first song. You can go watch that if you want. I'm not gonna put a clip of that in here because it's embarrassing. But yeah, awesome. Very happy with these. I also really liked using them during rehearsals. A lot of times the rehearsals were just me in here, and I had to go between the stage and the booth or the lighting booth quite often, and not having to take off my headphones or do anything like that, just being able to get up and walk over here and then walk back was incredible. So yeah, awesome. Really enjoyed using these for the show. However, the actual monitors themselves that were plugged into the U45D were not so awesome to use. These are made by CCA. It's a cheap brand I found on Amazon. I want to say like $30 for the pair of these. And while they sound really good for the price, they are already starting to die. This is the second pair I've gone through in, I want to say, 4 years. So it's just unfortunately a case of you get what you pay for. But in the second song of the first set, Lower Level, I noticed in rehearsal and on night one that there are certain frequencies of that song that cause these to pretty much just cut out completely. At first, I thought it was a problem with the U45D, but then I tried it with a pair of my over-the-ear headphones, and it worked fine. Then I plugged these directly into my SP404 Mark II, and still they cut out during that section of Lower Level. So there's just something about the frequencies of one of those samples, I think it was the repeating bass line in that song, that just did not work with these, and it really threw me off for the first show. I'd actually made a note that I needed to switch to over the ears for that second song in the first show, and then I forgot to do it, and it really threw me off. Luckily, in the second show, I did remember the note, and I switched to the over the ears for that song, and then switched back to these. But yeah, when it comes to actual in-ear monitors, I do recommend spending a little more than $30 or $40 and get something that's going to last. I'll probably grab a pair of like Shure SE215s or something like that, especially now that I have a wireless pack to use them with. I feel less silly buying slightly nicer in-ear monitors now that I actually have a wireless system. So there you have it. There are 3 pieces of electronic music gear that helped my live performance and 3 pieces of kind of electronic music gear, I guess. One of them was just a cable, but 3 things that hindered, that hurt the performance. Let me know if you've used any of these pieces of gear before, or let me know if you've ever given a live performance and had a piece of gear that like really helped you out, or did the exact opposite and hurt you in a major way. I do hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Again, a huge thank you to everybody who came out to the Freebeat Live 2026 shows. I super appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.